1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard. International Women's Day was established in 1911 and is celebrated worldwide. And each year there is a campaign theme. And the theme for 2022 is Break the Bias. On the internationalwomensday.com website, it says, imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can all break the bias.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, my sister and everyone else.
Thank you.
That's a new one.
That is a new one. I don't know if you ever said good morning to me.
Probably. Happy International Women's Day. Women's Day.
To all you women out there.
And us.
We're on a roll this morning.
This is awful.
Okay, so the situations, that we are going to talk about.
Don't tell
today.
yours yet. Don't say yours yet. No, just first.
You want me to leave them with a cliffhanger?
Yes.
Done.
We're going to be sitting on the edges of their seats. Okay. This honestly might be my favorite one that we've done.
Well, Ingrid, what are you going to talk about?
Oh, well, Jessica, hold on. Let me get on my correct page. So before I get started, I just want to cite my sources, Britannica, USA Today, the Hermitage Hotel, History.com, and the Washington Post. So, Jessica.
Yes.
Do you know what suffrage means? Like as in woman's suffrage?
I think I know what it means. Doesn't it mean that women suffered for a long time? Because we wanted to vote. So we were suffering because we couldn't vote.
And there's Ingrid suffrage during our podcasts because you make me suffer with your ridiculous answers.
Tell me what it means and cut that part out then.
No. So the definition of suffrage, it's derived from the Latin word suffragium. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Sounds like it.
Sure.
Which means the right or privilege to vote. So woman's suffrage is woman's right to vote.
Oh.
Not suffering. I mean, they did suffer.
Well, I knew it was about voting, though.
Oh, that's true. Good job.
I get 1 star.
Bronze. A bronze star.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
All right. So I'm going to focus on suffrage for women in the United States, but quickly just to go through, women the right to vote in national elections. So New Zealand was 1893, Australia 1902, Finland 1906, Norway 1913. Sweden had a listener in Sweden in, oh gosh, sorry, my ink was running out. 1917, Soviet Russia 1917, Canada. Oh, we have Russia too. Hi, Russia. Canada, Germany. Hi, Germany. We have Germany too. Austria and Poland in 1918. Czechoslovakia. Good gracious. Czechoslovakia, 1919. United States and Hungary, 1920. Great Britain. In 1918, 30 years old and older were allowed. 1928, 21 years old and older. Burma, 1922, Ecuador, 1929, South Africa, 1930, Brazil, Uruguay. That's how Americans pronounce it, but it was Uruguay.
I am also American, so I call it Uruguay.
And Thailand, all 1932, Turkey and Cuba, 1934, Philippines, 1937. India, 1949, Pakistan, 1956, Switzerland, 1971.
Oh.
And 1973 is Syria. United Nations Convention on the Political Rights of Women was adopted in 1952.
So Australia was the first country? Is that what you said?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Don't mix them up. They're not the same.
I know they're not the same. It was 1893. Is that what you said?
1893. Australia was 1902, which was the second next country.
Gotcha.
All right.
Way to go down under and over. I don't know. I'm so tired.
Okay. So I have a timeline again, much like how I did Black History Month, but I'm not going to take that long. And there are maybe three situations that I'm really going to focus on for this, but I'll just go through a quick timeline because it kind of helps set the tone. So in 1814, Lucretia Mott and New York resident Elizabeth Cady Stanton were banned from attending the World Anti-Slavery Convention, which was held in London. Over the next few years, American women began to detest the, quote, cult of womanhood, which was the idea that the only true woman was a pious, submissive wife and mother concerned exclusively with home and family. Stanton and Mott decided to go ahead and organize a little get-together in Seneca Falls, New York, which was known to be the Seneca Falls Convention. And
wherever did they come up with that name?
Probably, that's a good question. I should have looked that up.
Sorry.
So the assembly drew in around 300 people. 40 of those were men, and one of those men was Frederick Douglass. I'm not sure if you recall Frederick Douglass.
Of course.
Yeah, from episode 7.
Mm-hmm. You even said he fought for women's rights.
I did. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know that I was going to be doing this. So that's cool. Anyway, during this convention, the Declaration of Sentiments was read by Stanton. And this is a statement of demands. Well, I guess a little bit of demands, but it was mostly grievances that was modeled after the Declaration of Independence. And it starts off with, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal. And some of the statements and facts that were read off included the inability of women to vote, the fact there was no access to college education, there was no right to divorce, and in all honesty, there was really no right of married women, kind of, period.
I'm so sorry. What year was this? When did this start?
This was in 1848.
Oh, it took that long?
Yeah.
Okay.
It did. Okay. So no rights as a wife, limited employment opportunities with scant compensation, and they had no voice within the church. There were 12 resolutions that were proposed, and those were unanimously agreed upon, with the exception of one. And interestingly, the one resolution that did not receive full support was
the right to vote.
Yes, women's suffrage. Regardless, there were 68 women and 32 men who signed the declaration. Those people who signed the declaration were ridiculed and harassed by pretty much everybody else. And there were newspaper headlines, which included descriptions of the declaration and convention as insane and ludicrous, dull and uninteresting. One headline stated that equal rights is a monstrous injury to all mankind. And because, oh my gosh, and I'll have to find these again, but I will post some of the comics that were made at the time. But because of all the backlash and humility that resulted, caused many of the supporters of this declaration to not only withdraw their names, but actually completely flip and support the opposition.
Wow.
Yeah. Quick timeline through in 1849, the first state constitution in California extends property rights to women. And there are so many rights that happen with individual states, like individual states grant the right to vote and things like that. I'm not going to list all of those just for the sake of not taking up too much time.
Sorry, could you say that again? I'm having trouble hearing.
Siri, we're not talking to you.
I'm going to keep that in.
You are an AI. You are not a real woman.
When are they going to have their rights? Let's see, 1850 in Massachusetts,
Worcestershire.
It's the site of the first National Women's Rights Convention. Paulina Wright Davis, Abby Kelly Foster, William Lloyd Garrison, Lucy Stone, and Sojourner Truth are in attendance. And then that's where there's a strong alliance between women's rights and the abolitionist movement. In 1853, women delegates Antoinette Brown and Susan B. Anthony are not allowed to speak at the World Temperance Convention in New York City. 1861 to 1865 is the Civil War, so everything kind of is halted at that time. 1866, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony formed the American Equal Rights Association, which their purpose was to advocate for suffrage for all, regardless of gender and race. 1868 in Vineland, New Jersey, there were 172 women who cast votes for president. It's noted here that Susan B. Anthony, with a lot of the other suffragists, remained single because, again, once you become married, you lose a lot of your rights. So you don't have the right to own property. You don't have the right to control any of your money. 1868, the 14th Amendment was ratified, and citizens and voters are defined to be exclusively male. 1869, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony formed the National Woman Suffrage Association, NWSA. They're a little bit more radical. They're going after the federal government to give rights. Lucy Stone, Henry Blackwell, Julia Ward Howe, and other conservative activists formed the American Woman Suffrage Association, going after state. 1870, the 15th Amendment gave Black men the right to vote, and NWSA refused to work for that ratification. And that's where Frederick Douglass breaks away from Stanton and Anthony over the positions of the NWSA.
That's the one that went after federal, the NWSA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And in 1871, the Anti-Suffrage Party is founded.
Why? Come on.
Well, right, I know. In 1872, this is funny, I thought, Susan B. Anthony cast her vote for Ulysses S. Grant in the presidential election, and she's arrested and brought to trial in Rochester, New York.
Wow.
There are 15 other women who were arrested for illegally voting. And in Battle Creek, Michigan, Sojourner Truth asked for a ballot and she was turned away. In 1878, a woman suffrage amendment is proposed in U.S. Congress. And when the 19th Amendment is finally passed 41 years later, it's worded exactly the same.
40 years later.
41.
40, okay.
Yeah. Details. 1887, the first vote on woman suffrage is taken in the Senate. It's defeated. And in 1888, the National Council of Women in the United States is established.
That's making me very kind of angry hearing this.
Oh, yeah, I know. There's some tough stories in here. Situations. 1890, NWSA and AWSA decide to merge. And now they are forming the National American Woman Suffrage Association. Elizabeth Cady Stanton is the first president, and now they're focusing their efforts on the state level. In 1895, Elizabeth Cady Stanton publishes the Woman's Bible, and apparently this makes her appear to be too radical. And so conservative suffragists and the NAWSA begin to distance themselves from her because they feel she's too radical. In 1911, the National Association Opposed to Women's Suffrage, NAOWS, is organized, and members include wealthy, influential women, Catholic clergymen, distillers and brewers, urban political machines, Southern congressmen, corporate capitalists. Do you say prohibition or do you say prohibition?
Prohibition.
That's how I say it too, but I think it's I guess it's really not wrong. Anyway, prohibition.
I love that clergymen and distillers and brewers were part of that group.
Right. Well, actually, I guess this would be a good spot. I'm going to you kind of wonder why would anybody oppose or who would oppose this? And obviously I just listed some, but manufacturers, this is funny, felt that if women could vote, they would demand laws to protect factory and textile workers, which included women and children. So,
yeah, of course.
Southern white men and women believe that expanding this would disrupt their Southern way of life, which is, full of racial segregation and patriarchy. The liquor industry thought that believed that allowing women to vote would run them out of business. So 1950, there were 40,000 who marched in a parade in New York City for the suffrage movement, and the women are dressed in white and they're carrying their placards with the names of the states that they're from. 1916, Woodrow Wilson states that the Democratic Party platform will support suffrage.
Wow.
So in 1913, Alice Paul and Lucy Burns broke away from the NAWSA and they formed the National Woman's Party. And in 1916, they're getting a little bit irritated with no progress coming from Wilson, especially as he begins to say more now he's supporting a state level suffrage movement, not a federal. So anyway, the NWP is getting irritated with him. So they began to picket outside of the White House, and they wore purple, white, and gold sashes. They held signs that said things like, "Mr. President, how long must we wait for liberty? And what will you do for women's suffrage?" etc. There's an author, Susan Ware, who wrote the book, Why They Marched, Untold Stories of the Women Who Fought for the Right to Vote. And she makes notation that this picketing lasted a long amount of time, into 10 months. And the NWP is... they, along with other supporters, are called the Silent Sentinels because they're just standing outside picketing. Initially, Wilson greets them and smiles at them, invites them in for coffee, which they decline, but he's okay with them being there. But over time, it starts to become, I guess, a bit irritating. So the U.S. enters World War I, and despite our country being at war, the Silent Sentinels and NWP are continuing to picket. And that's gathering bad publicity. People are beginning to feel that they are unpatriotic, and they're sometimes attacked by onlookers for being there. And Woodrow wrote his daughter in the month of June. So again, this has been going on since January. And he wrote that the suffragists seem bent on making their cause as obnoxious as possible. And
yes,
Right. In August, the Silent Sentinels have a new banner that accuses, quote, Kaiser Wilson of autocracy. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
There's attacks, and now the women are starting to get arrested. And the reason for being arrested is they are obstructing traffic because they're standing like on the sidewalks and they're standing in people's way. So initially, the arrests and the jail time are short-lived, but as time goes on, jail time is getting longer. And so where that author, again, she said they're in this kind of cat and mouse game with the Wilson administration and with the police. The arrests keep going on. The prison terms keep getting longer. The stakes keep getting upped. Okay, so the women were beginning to be imprisoned in unsanitary conditions, and sometimes they were beaten and they were force fed. So that gets me into this big situation called the Night of Terror. There were 33 women arrested. They were put or placed in the, I don't know how to say this, Occoquan, Occoquan, Coquan, a Coquan workhouse. Anyway, they had been arrested for picketing, and they're put into this jail-ish place, a Coquan, and they were faced with brutal treatment by the guards. There were worm-ridden food, filthy water, filthy bedding. And while there, Alice Paul, who was again the leader of the NWP. And so she goes on a hunger strike. Well, when you go on a hunger strike, I guess they're trying to demand to be treated like a political prisoner. I tried to figure all the details out of that, and I couldn't really understand. I should stop doing like political stuff. I don't should get it. Did I tell you that I got a text today that asked if I wanted to run for a party seat or something?
Did they mean to send it to you?
Yeah, it says my name. Hold on, let me find it. It said, "Hi, Ingrid. This is George, a volunteer with the Tennessee going to state which party. We're looking for folks to run for local office. Do you want information?"
Why would you get that? How would you get your number?
They must have heard about my thorough knowledge on the Constitution when I did Black History Month.
Obviously.
Okay. So yeah, anyway, I don't understand the whole political prisoner thing. I know that
George.
I know George.
No, George, no.
George, you might want to delete my number. or give it to the other party.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, so these women are in this horrible place. They're trying. So Alice Paul is doing her hunger strike. They force feed her, and eventually they transfer her to the psychiatric ward because she's still refusing to eat.
That is not a psychiatric disorder.
I know. At one point I read, and I don't remember if it was Alice Paul or if it was someone else, they held a demonstration because they had been jailed for a short amount of time, force-fed and released. And she held a demonstration on what it was like to be force-fed. And of course, that gained a lot of support now for these women because it was horrendous. It was like a public demonstration. So anyway, on this night of terror.
Do you know what being force-fed means? Like, would they keep their mouth open and like shovel the food in there?
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it the icky, wormy food?
Yeah.
Oh,
gross, right? So I don't know if I said, so the night of terror was November 14th, 1977. No,
that would be a tragedy.
1917. Okay. So Alice Paul is put in the psychiatric ward. So there were 33 women who were brought there that night. I think I already said that. And they continued to refuse to eat. The superintendent, William H. Whitaker, told his guards to teach the women a lesson. So the guards burst into the room where, like the holding room. They drug the women down the hall, threw them into dark and filthy cells. And who is this? Burns. Who's Burns?
It was Paul and Burns that created the NWP.
Lucy. Lucy Burns. Yes. Lucy Burns and Alice Paul created the NWP.
Mm-hmm.
So Lucy Burns.
I just remembered it because I remembered it thinking, oh, their name makes a name, Paul Burns. That's why I remembered it.
You're so smart. Anyway, Lucy Burns had her hands shackled to the top of a cell, so she had to stand. So nobody can see me. You can see me. So her arms are above her head, and like I just said, shackled to the top of the cell. And so the guards also threatened her with a straitjacket and a buckle gag. I did not look up what a buckle gag is. My guess is like something shoved in your mouth and then you like put like a belt buckle around it to keep it in. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what something I pictured. Like that. Like a ball gag except with a buckle. Yes,
that's what exactly I was thinking. So Dorothy Day is another. What?
Is that a sex toy?
Dorothy Day?
A ball gag.
Oh, we'll cut that.
Okay.
I've never used it.
I haven't either, but I think it might be like a BDSM kind of thing.
Why do you think that?
Well, okay, so I typed it in Google and it says some results may be explicit. And the person that shows up is Adam and Eve bondage ball gags. We need to cut that out or leave this whole entire part in.
Depending on how long this goes, we're leaving this in.
Oh my God.
Okay. I'll just say I'm done. We're done. That's it.
Okay. Anyways.
All right. Okay. So Dorothy Day is one of these prisoners, and she was described as a frail girl. But that night, the guards took her, and two men were, let's see, there's a 73-year-old prisoner, Mary Nolan. So she witnesses this, and she said there were two men handling Dorothy. They were twisting her arms above her head. Then suddenly they lifted her up and banged her down over the arm of an iron bench twice.
Oh my God.
Right. And then there's a woman named Dora Lewis who lost consciousness. Her head was smashed into an iron bed. Alice Cosu, C-O-S-U, saw Dora Lewis lose her consciousness, saw her head get banged into this bed, and she ended up having a heart attack. They did not allow her to get medical attention until the next morning.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Do they even treat like male people who are incarcerated? Males who are incarcerated like that? That's
interesting. So Mary Nolan, that 73-year-old woman, had actually written, "Never was there a sentence like ours for an offense such as ours, even in England."
Uh-oh.
And you know how terrible those English can be.
Were you trying to do an accent there? Because that was horrible.
I don't know what kind of accent that was supposed to be.
I don't know
it was just not supposed to be my voice. So anyway, eventually word of the treatment of these women had gotten out, and because of but this is late November. So November 14th was the night of terror. So now we're into late November. Public pressure requires the federal authorities to let these women go. And there's a debate that's opened by Representative Rankin in the House of Representatives, and he wants to talk about the suffrage amendment. The amendment passes, but it fails to win the Senate. And this is 1918. And I think possibly out of response because of this night of terror that just happened, President Woodrow Wilson now supports a federal woman suffrage amendment. In June of 1919, the U.S. Senate joined the House in passing the 19th Amendment. But then now the NWP and NAWSA are fighting to have that amendment ratified. And this is my absolute favorite part of this situation. This is the big situation. All of this extra information is leading up to this. And the reason this is so exciting is because the ratification came down to, well, I'll tell you in a second. So by the summer of 1920, there were 35 out of 36 states had to ratify the amendment. So at the time, there were 48 states. And so again, 35 had said yes, and they needed 36 for it to be officially passed. Out of the remaining 13 states, 8 had said, no, we're rejecting this amendment, and left 5 that had not voted. 4 of those states said, we're not going to vote on that. So, and those 4 states, Connecticut, Vermont, North Carolina, and Florida. And so that left 1 state to give that 36 number. And that state was the great state of Tennessee. And this is why I was so excited to do this, because it fell down to Nashville, Tennessee, because the Governor Albert H. Roberts decided to hold a special session on August 9th to talk about this issue. And state capitals in Nashville, and the Hermitage Hotel, which I've stayed at before, and it is a beautiful hotel, housed something called the War of the Roses. And doing all this research, I was sitting here and I'm like, why would I not just go hop on over to Nashville and check out some of this stuff from a different point of view? And there is a tour, I can tell you, nashvillesites.org/tours. And there's a number of different tours that you can take in Nashville, but this one specifically, Woman Suffrage. And I decided to go ahead and take this self tour. And I took a lot of pictures, and I will post those on our Instagram and our Facebook page. I'm going to post them in different, not just all under episode 12, just because I want to be able to differentiate what the pictures are. So I'll break them up into the different places I took pictures of. But so let me just run through all of this quickly. First stop is Union Station. And the reason Union Station is here is because that's obviously where everybody came in. So I took pictures. They're absolutely gorgeous. In the lobby, it is the original fireplace. And I think it was since 1915, people have gotten married in front of this fireplace. There are 2 rooms. One is the Dixie Flyer and one is a hummingbird. There are mirror images of each other. The original stained glass is in there along with the original fireplaces. The bar area, which is called Ergo, ERGO, that is where the ticket, I think, let me see. That was the ticket counter, the barber, and shoe shine stand. And the front of the Union Station is a hotel now. So the front of it is the original front to it. But again, beautiful. Carrie Chapman Catt was the National American Woman Suffrage Association president. So she arrived to Union Station and went and booked a suite at the Hermitage Hotel. Tennessee women who played a role in this is Ann Dallas Dudley of Nashville, Abby Crawford Milton of Chattanooga, and Sue Shelton White of Jackson. There's another Tennessee woman, Josephine A. Pearson, who's from Mont Eagle, Tennessee, and she was the president
of Al Capone lived?
Yeah, yes. Huh. So she's the president of the Tennessee State Association opposed to woman suffrage. And I read quickly on her. She made a promise to her mother, her dying mother, that she would continue the opposition to woman suffrage. Carrie Chapman Catt arrived at Union Station, booked her suite at the Hermitage Hotel. The next day, Josephine Pearson came into Union Station wearing red roses. And she went to the Hermitage Hotel and asked for the least expensive room. The next stop is the Ryman Auditorium, which held quite a few political events, but specifically on this one, in accordance to woman suffrage, at 8:00 to save the South from the Susan B. Anthony Amendment and federal suffrage force bills, they had a meeting for the anti-suffragists. Next place I did go to is the Hermitage Hotel. And this was by far my favorite stop. Absolutely gorgeous. So the Hermitage Hotel is, like I said, where Carrie Chapman Catt had gotten her suite. And that's where she ended up housing the pro-suffrage group. And Josephine Pearson got the cheapest hotel or cheapest room. It was on the 8th floor, and anti-suffragists tried any means possible to bribe and coerce legislators. So they had free whiskey and bourbon in like a speakeasy type fashion, because again, this is during Prohibition. Tennessee had been a dry state for 11 years at this time. And so their whole area was known as the Jack Daniels Suite. So you have the pro-suffragists all wearing yellow roses, the antis wearing red roses. And so this whole thing ended up becoming called War of the Roses. The anti-suffragists specifically targeted Republican state legislator Harry T. Byrne. So he was extremely young. He was 22 when he was voted in. He's 24. Jeez. Yes, he's 24 at this time. And they really targeted him, and he was sporting his red rose. His mom had been kind of pro-suffrage, but he was up for re-election, and his area really was against it. So I guess he wanted to get revoted. Anyway,
re-elected.
Thank you. God, I'm getting tired. Are you?
Yes.
Okay. So on August 18th was the vote, and the anti-suffragists were winning. There were 96 legislators that had appeared. They had the majority, what they felt, to delay at least the vote until Banks Turner switched sides. So then now it put everything at a deadlock. It's 48-48. And this is where Harry T. Byrne goes up wearing his red rose on his lapel. And he votes aye in favor of ratification, because under his red rose was a letter that was written to him from Febb, F-E-B-B, Ensminger, Ensminger, Byrne, which is Harry's mom. Apparently his mentor, Senator Herschel M. Candler, he denounced the suffragists as low class and childless and trying to put something over on the good women of Tennessee. And I'm here representing the mothers who are at home rocking the cradle and not representing the low neck and high skirt variety.
Oh my goodness.
He warned that suffrage for women would soon mean Negroes holding public office. And he called President Carrie Chapman Catt of the NAWSA an anarchist who supported interracial marriage. And this is the this is a quote. This is the kind of woman who is trying to dictate to us. They would drag the womanhood of Tennessee down to the level of the Negro woman.
Oh my God.
So Febb was a college educated woman. She's a widow. She read 3 newspapers a day, and she felt that her mind was equal of any man's. And she supported suffrage before her son even went to Nashville. And she kept, telling him, you need to stay eye. But again, he was up for re-election. And so that kind of played a big role. So her letter, let me read it to you. And this is parts of it are cut out. So she put this kind of like, there's a first page was like, oh, this is what's going on at the farm. Third page is like, yes, this is what's still going on at the farm. And then this other page is in the middle of it. So, dear son, hurrah and vote for suffrage and don't keep them in doubt. I've been watching to see how you stood, but have not seen anything yet. Don't forget to be a good boy and help Mrs. Thomas Cat with her rats. Is she the one that put rat in ratification? Ha. No more from Mama. With lots of love, Mama.
Oh,
So he had read that letter the night before the vote, went in, stuck the letter in his pocket, went in, and there's some, I think it was a bit dramatized, but whatever I had read, he throws the red rose off of his lapel. It's like, so I'm not sure if the rose got thrown off or not, but he did have his mom's letter in his pocket. And that is how woman suffrage was ratified. And everything does come down to votes. So it's one man's vote. And he did write down why. And I love this quote too. I knew that a mother's advice is always safest for a boy to follow. And my mother wanted me to vote for ratification. I appreciated the fact that an opportunity such as seldom comes to a mortal man to free 17 million women from political slavery was mine.
oh my goodness, my eyes are watering.
I'm going to post a picture. He's not a bad looking fellow either. So I was like, I'm
He
sure
probably did not have a problem finding a date.
No, I don't think so.
Low necks and high skirts.
Right. But I forgot to kind of talk through some steps. So the pictures that I'll be posting, I took, like I said, I got some of Union Station. I have quite a few pictures from the Hermitage Hotel. One thing you'll notice, so there's the front of the Hermitage and there's a side door because women were not allowed to go through the front door. So I took a picture of that side door that everybody through. The next stop after that is the state capitol. And then following that, Centennial Park that has a statue of the women's suffrage movement. So I'm going to include all of those photos as well. It was really cool to actually see these places where these women were and then see this memorial. This was just a really cool topic. This was your idea. You told me to do suffrage.
Did I?
You
Well,
did.
that's when I thought it was about women suffering. No, that's cool. I didn't know about the War of the Roses. I didn't know it came down to that one guy. And I also did not know about the Night of Terror. Never heard about
Right.
those.
I didn't know about the Night of Terror. I love that the vote came down. It was a 48-48, came down to one guy. And this was the last state of any hope to have this go through. So it's really crazy that it came down to all of that.
So we owe it all to Feb, actually.
Feb. Mama's boy. Yeah. See, you know what? Harry probably wasn't that great of a catch because he's 100% like the original Mama's boy.
My son's a mama's boy.
For now.
Your son. Sons are.
Yes, they totally are.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to exercise my non-prohibition rights now while you talk.
Okay. So going on with the theme of International Women's Day, I decided to cover one woman's situation and how she became oh my God, there's a big bug. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh God. It's like one of those big ass flies, like the big ass mosquito looking flies.
Oh my God, I choked.
I don't know why it's in this room with me.
I vote for prohibition.
Okay. I'm sorry. Good Lord.
Oh my God.
Okay. So
I nearly died.
I know it's international, but this woman broke a lot of records here at home, and I feel that she needs the attention to have her story and her situation told. And I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what political party you are. It's pretty amazing that there is a woman vice president. And I totally cried when she gave her speech.
A woman vice president in the United States, because there are other women leaders elsewhere.
I said I was keeping it at home.
I know, but just to reiterate.
Okay. So I'm going to first educate you on the pronunciation of her name, which I guess is there's even like a YouTube video of how to say her name. And she said herself that the easiest way for people to remember how to say her name is the word comma, like the pause in grammar, comma, la. Kamala.
It's not Kamala?
No, it is not. So as you all now can tell, we're going to talk about Kamala Harris. It's kind of just a brief overview of her life. So she was born in Oakland, California on October 20th, 1964. Her parents emigrated from India and Jamaica. And we were having a conversation the other day, I think it was with you, about the difference between emigrated and immigrated. Was that you that I was talking to?
Yes.
Okay, well, fantastic. I can tell you the difference now. So emigrated means that you are leaving a country. So they emigrated, they left India and Jamaica, and they immigrated into the United States. So if you remember the words exit and into, exit for emigrate, into for immigrate. Do you get it?
Yeah. So they emigrated. Oh, yeah. Never mind.
You got it? Okay.
Right. No, I was
so like
ask
our mom immigrated to the US and she emigrated from the PI.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So her mom came here in 1958 when she was 19 years old to come to school. She was a breast cancer scientist and received her PhD in nutrition and endocrinology.
This is her mom?
Yes. Her mom, Shyamala. In 1964. Her dad also had his PhD and he got it in economics in 1966. His name was Donald. And his name was Donald. So both of her parents have their doctorate.
Wow.
I know. And that they met through the civil rights movements and were really involved with the civil rights movements. And so they had their two daughters, Kamala and Maya. And they would actually take Kamala to some of the civil rights events. And that actually what helped promote her to get into the field that she got into. Although I'll get into that in a second. So she went to high school at this place called Thousand Oaks Elementary School over in Berkeley. And she was actually bused there from her neighborhood because it was, the city was trying to do some new school program of integration. And so the school was originally 95% white, but after desegregation was enacted, it became 40% Black. So she actually went there before desegregation was enacted. And also as a child, she used to go visit her family in India, and she was influenced a lot by her grandma, who was a progressive, and she believed in democracy and women's rights. Her parents actually split up when she was 7, and the girl stayed with her mother. And one of the memories she talks about is she would go visit her dad in Palo Alto, and the other kids in the neighborhood weren't allowed to play with her because she was Black. Like play with her and her sister. Like they just, yeah.
Wow.
I know, right? So then when she was 12, her mom got a job being a researcher up in Quebec and Montreal. And so she attended a French-speaking primary school, and she graduated from high school in 1981. And she went to Howard University, which is a historically Black college.
Black college, yeah.
Yep. And got her bachelor's in political science and economics. And then she went to the University of California, Hastings College of Law, and got her JD in 1989. So this is where she kind of develops her sense of justice. And she met Constance Baker Motley, who was a big civil rights leader back in the day. She was a state senator in New York, a borough president of Manhattan, a federal judge, the first Black woman to argue at the Supreme Court. And she was law clerk to Thurgood Marshall and the Brown versus Board of Education, which you covered in Black History Month. So yeah, she was totally motivated by Constance to become a prosecutor. So she actually started working in 1990 when she joined the Alameda County DA's office, and she specialized in prosecuting child sexual assault cases. Then she moved to San Francisco's DA office and served as a managing attorney, which I had no idea what a managing attorney is, because why would someone know that if they're not an attorney? But it sounds like someone who was like the head attorney, like delegating stuff, being a mentor, coaching other people, and kind of making sure they don't screw up any. And she later became the chief of the DCF for San Francisco's attorney office. And then she was elected DA of San Francisco in 2003. So she just like went straight up the chain in San Francisco. She created a program to help first-time drug offenders get their high school degree and find employment. And then in 2010, she was elected California's Attorney General, which is awesome. That's a huge spot to have. So she did a lot there. Some key points. She worked in creating transparency in the criminal justice system. She established California's first Bureau of Children's Justice. She helped students getting taken advantage of by for-profit colleges. She helped them get their money back. She supported marriage equality, environmental law, and helped some Californians whose houses have been foreclosed on back when, you know, the market crashed, like after 2008, 2010-ish, like that time. Mm-hmm. In 2017, she was sworn into the Senate. She was part of a ton of groups. She spoke on behalf of immigrants. She wanted better protection for members of the DREAM Act. And do you know what the DREAM Act is?
No.
It's for children who were entered. It's for illegal immigrants who entered the country as minors. They had to meet certain qualifications and they could eventually be found as citizens. And so they weren't deported. They're called Dreamers is what they're, I don't know if it's.
I know what it is now that you.
Okay.
I remember. Yeah.
Okay. So she did that. She did a lot. I don't want to bore. It's not boring, but she did a lot of work. It sounds like with the underserved and vulnerable populations. And then on August 11th, 2020, she accepted Joe Biden's invitation to become his running mate. And then on January 20th, 2021, she became the first South Asian American, first Black American, and the first woman. Oh, I just got the goosebumps again. To be elected vice president. She's the second person of color to hold vice president, which I did not know this. She was preceded by Charles Curtis, who was a Native American and was Herbert Hoover's vice president. Yeah, didn't know that.
I didn't know either. If you're looking for like reaffirmation.
One thing she did back in 2014, she got married to Douglas Emhoff, and they have 2 children. So that was just a side note on her personal life, I guess. So kind of what you were talking about, what I was trying to reiterate with that tiebreaker vote, since the Senate is 50-50 Democrats and Republicans, she is called to be the tie-breaking vote. And as of November 2021, she has casted 13 tie-breaking votes. And this is the most in a single year, surpassing John Adams, who had 12 in 1790. Wow. So yeah, I know, right? And some of the things that she did, she's gone to Central America a lot and talked to some of the people, some of the refugees and people that wanted to come up to the USA. And she actually told them, like, please do not come. You're going to get turned away. So you're going to make all this journey for nothing. So she tried to help, or she didn't try to help. She did create a task force on corruption and human trafficking in Central America. She also helped do a women's empowerment program and an investment fund for housing and businesses for these people who, since we can't take them all in, she's trying to help them where they're at, which I thought was pretty cool. Two more fun facts that this one cracks me up. On November 19th, 2021, she served as acting president from 10:10 to 11:35 a.m. Eastern while President Biden underwent a procedure.
Oh, I knew that.
Did you know what the procedure was?
A colonoscopy?
Yes. I don't know why that's funny, but it's funny to me. She has written 2 nonfiction books and 1 children's book. The nonfiction books are called Smart on Crime, A Career Prosecutor's Plan to Make Us Safer. And the other one is The Truths We Hold, An American Journey. The children's book is called Superheroes Are Everywhere, which I actually bought for my children off of Amazon.
Have you gotten it yet?
I have, but I haven't read it to him yet. It's been sitting on the counter. But the cover looks awesome. And I flipped through it. It looks like a super cute book.
Fun.
So that is Kamala Harris, who has broke the glass ceiling in the US with being a female and a woman of color.
Wear your shoes, girls. There's glass everywhere. I love it.
Mm.
I love that we went from women don't even have the right to vote to VP.
Yes. In about 100 years. It took about 100 years for that to happen. From the amendment getting ratified.
Right.
150 if you count all the work they did.
One thing I saw that I thought was really cool is a woman can be in the worst situation possible, and the only words you'll hear from her will be, "I'll figure it out and promise you she is going to find a way." To all the women, your hard work does not go unnoticed. Keep striving. Anyway, happy International Women's Day.
Yes. So learned a lot about the suffrage, and now you know a little bit about Kamala, at least how to say her name, Kamala.
Right. I really said her name wrong all the time.
I also did until I did this research.
But ladies, keep pushing, keep driving. This is so cool. What a great era to be a woman.
I also, this total side note, and this will take like a minute. There was something on ESPN about the new police security woman of the NFL. And she said that when she first got into police force, she wasn't even allowed to ride, or in 1972, women weren't even allowed to ride in police cars. And now she's the head security person of the NFL. She's like, it's a pretty cool thing that happened in my lifetime.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just saw that. I saw a clip of it last night and I was like, oh, that is cool.
That's really cool. Well, so guys, by guys, I mean everybody.
So everyone, next week, we will be recording from a new location.
We're going to be recording together
for the first time in the history of this podcast.
We're going to be recording together.
Mm-hmm. We'll probably just have to fight over the microphone then.
We'll have to see if we can.
So we might have a spring break special.
We're not going on spring break though. My gosh, you make us sound like
no, it's the time frame of spring break. I'm not saying we're going on spring break. God, we're old.
My kids aren't on spring break.
I thought spring break started I think spring break starts the first week of March here.
Oh, mine don't go until next month.
Actually, the second week of March.
Anyway, it's a fun, there's going to be, I think 12 ladies, and it's just going to be relaxation and sun and beaches. And hopefully we don't know these other friends that we're going to be meeting. So hopefully we can get a few recorded situations. Stay glued to our Facebook page and our Instagram page because we might be uploading a few little extras there. Well, no, we will. We'll upload some stuff.
Thanks for listening again.
Thank you guys. And you guys, thank you for killing it last week. Our little ask of you guys telling one person was awesome. We have so many new places that have been downloading. We're really excited about everyone.
Well, again, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you guys. Bye.
If you'd like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation.
Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.